Hi everyone, today I'm going to be creating a watercolour rose wreath. This is a super easy cohesive tutorial so anyone can join in, and it's very limited in terms of the materials needed. You don't need to go crazy on what you have, so it's nice easy beginners tutorial. Before I get started today, make sure to check out all the links in the description. You can find access to my membership over on Patreon. I've also got a variety of playbacks over on my website for you to have access to, and I also host a variety of live art classes via Zoom, so make sure you check all them out for further information. You can also find links to all my social media pages to find out what I do day to day, so make sure you check all them out. So to begin with, I wanted to create a cohesive colour palette, so I pre-mixed a really light pink and a light peach colour. I also pre-mixed a very light blue/green, it's definitely more on the blue side. So I pre-mixed all of them, and then I pre-mixed the same colours but I made them darker, so I added less water to them so that there was a balance between light and dark, which is really going to help for this particular painting. Once I pre-mixed all the colours, I then used some sellotape just to draw around. You can use anything to create that circle, mug, something like that. But yeah, anything that's going to create that circle for you that you've got at hand. And this provides that framework for the painting, so you know exactly where to work around and where the centre of the wreath is going to be. So to begin with, as you can see, I put down a rose using the really dark purple that I'd pre-mixed for the centre of all of the pink flowers. If you want to find out more information on how I created each of these different roses, I actually have a tutorial that explains each that I will be creating today, so make sure you check that out. I'll also link that in the description. I wanted to use the dark purple as the centre of this flower and then make them lighter as they came out, so I transitioned from the really dark purple into the light pink. I then moved on to that peachy colour to put in another little flower. I wanted to mix it up a little bit. You can just stick to roses if you want it to be very cohesive in terms of the style, as in the flowers that we use today. But I used the peach just to mix it up a little bit, and for all of the flowers you can see me putting down, I followed very closely to the circle that I'd already drawn. It's hard to see on camera as I made sure the pencil outline was very light. You want to do this so that the watercolour doesn't sit on top of it and you can still see the outline. You want it to fade into the background. But everything that I put down in terms of flowers is very random. As you can see, I'm now mixing between the peach colours for some of the roses, and then obviously the pinks and purples, and same for the other flowers that I'm then putting down. Wanted to have a real mix, but because the colours are very similar, it still ties together really nicely. If you're going to overlap any of the colours as well, it's really important to note that in doing this, everything will bleed together if it's not dry, so you might want to let things, like I say, dry a little bit before you go in with more colour. A little bit later on I go into the centre of some of the flowers and just put a couple of little dots down. I waited for things to dry a little bit more before I did this, as like I say, it all just merges and you want that little bit of separation between some of the colours. Even if they are the same, it's nice to know the distinction between the centre of the flower and then the petals that come out from that. But with the roses and other flowers that I've put down, as you can see, it has followed that circular structure. Even though you can't see the line that connects everything just yet, you can tell that it all does follow that same pattern in terms of going around the circle, which is really crucial for a painting like this, as you don't want everything to fall outside, like completely away from that circle, so it's good to have that structure to begin with. So after I've got all the flowers down and I'm happy with how many that are there, I went in with the lightest blue that we pre-mixed and I followed around that outline of the circle, but avoided going into the flowers, so there is that separation and it makes it look like the flowers are on top of the blue. So I decided to work a section at a time so that I didn't miss anything. So between flowers where the outline is, I would put the line to follow the circle and then added a little bit of the botanical element. So I would definitely encourage you to get creative with this. I definitely experimented with a couple of ideas that I had just to fill out the wreath really so it doesn't look as bare. So for example, I'd put a couple of little lines coming out either side of that circle structure and then maybe a couple of dots surrounding that, just so it gives that more of a full element to the wreath. A couple of little of the stereotypical leaf structure as well coming out from there. But I was also very conscious that I wanted to keep everything very small and dainty. You can obviously do things bigger if you choose to, but I personally wanted the roses to be the focal point, so I made sure that they were the biggest part of this particular painting. But this is essentially everything that I did within the wreath. I made sure everything was moving in the same direction in terms of the way the leaves were pointing and things like that. That is the best way to keep everything, again, very cohesive. But that is essentially it. So I mixed between the light and the dark with the blues, and this is the perfect way to tie everything together. So as you can see, super easy tutorial. I will see you all next time for some more watercolour content. Bye guys!